Last month would have been Heath Ledger's 40th birthday. And in honor of his 40th birthday and the fact that I'm a huge Heath Ledger fan, as well as just I love so many of his movies that he acted in, I thought I'd share my Heath Ledger movie collection. I will be showing the movies in order from my least favorite to my most favorite. Welcome, my name is Alisa, and today I just wanted to share my Heath Ledger movies. I have been a huge fan of Heath Ledger since I discovered him in the movie 10 Things I Hate About You when I was in high school. And I definitely had a crush. I thought he was such an amazing actor. And from then on, I just loved seeing any movie that he was in. Many of his movies I've seen so many times. For this video, I discovered some movies that I hadn't heard of before, and I absolutely love now that I have this collection of movies that I can enjoy and remember him by. I have 16 movies that Heath Ledger has a role in. There are a couple that I don't own. Okay, so let's get started here. So the first one in my Heath Ledger movie collection is I'm Not There. And this has quite a few other actors. He's not in it a lot in this movie. But Richard Gere's in this movie, Christian Bale's also in this movie, Cate Blanchett is in this movie. And it's kind of a movie that is inspired by the songs of Bob Dylan and Bob Dylan's life. And each actor is kind of supposed to be taking on a time in Bob Dylan's life. This movie I did not really enjoy very much. I did like seeing Heath Ledger's role in this movie. He plays a father of two little girls who's kind of going through some marriage issues, and he is famous, and it kind of shows what happens when he becomes famous. So this is the first one. It is my least favorite, mainly just because I honestly just didn't enjoy the movie that much. But that's that, and I found it off of eBay. It was like a old Blockbuster video DVD. Okay, the next one is the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. This movie, you know, is kind of sad because it's during the filming of this movie is when Heath Ledger passed away. So they weren't able to completely finish it, I think, the way they had wanted to finish it, because there were more scenes that Heath Ledger was supposed to be acting in. And so I believe they kind of had to change the storyline a little bit, and they got some other actors to finish the role. I thought they kind of tied it all in together though really well. It's got some kind of cool effects to it, but visual effects, but the movie just it just wasn't that good. But of course I'm gonna keep it because this is the last movie he ever made, and so it's kind of you know, that was his last one. So, but that's that one. So I do have it on Blu-ray. Okay, the next one is called Ned Kelly, and Orlando Bloom was also in this movie. It's kind of based in a Western theme. It again was okay. Heath Ledger does play the main leading role in this movie, but the storyline and the plot kind of dragged on, and it was just okay for me. So this is the next one. I believe it was made in Australia, but it wasn't a very good movie, so they actually considered not releasing it in the United States. But I was able to find a copy of it off of eBay, and I had to make sure it was region free because a lot of them that I found was only were not the United States region. But so yeah, I was able to pick it up on DVD. Okay, next one. is the Brothers Grimm. I was able to get it with this nice lenticular slip cover, which I really, really like. This one also has Matt Damon. Matt Damon's primarily the main actor in this, but Heath Ledger plays his brother. I do really like this theme of fairy tales, and in my opinion it was just a long movie and I was ready for it to be over long before it was. But I do like that they kind of tie in some of those Grimm's fairy tales stories into this. What was neat watching this is Lena Headey from the Game of Thrones is in this one, and so from, you know, many years ago before she was in the Game of Thrones. So yeah, that's the Brothers Grimm. Next one is The Order. I just have this one on Blu-ray, and this one Heath Ledger plays a priest, and he's kind of trying to figure out one of his fellow priests that he used to kind of work with and kind of helped him become a priest had passed away, and so he's trying to figure out how he died. And a lot of people said that he committed suicide, but Heath Ledger knows that that couldn't have been. And so he discovers that there's such a thing as a sin eater, and he's trying to figure out who the sin eater is. And as the movie unfolds, you kind of discover a sin eater. What I found neat about this movie, again, was who he has in the movies with him. So one of the actresses, this actress right here, plays in A Knight's Tale with him, and he's not on the cover, he's not anywhere, but there's another actor that plays with him in here that's also in A Knight's Tale. So it was kind of fun to see the three of them back together for The Order, because I believe The Order came out after A Knight's Tale. It did. But I really, Heath Ledger does a really good job of acting in this movie, but the ending was just kind of lackluster a little bit. And it's definitely a little far-fetched, but it was a good watch. I do enjoy it, so that's The Order. Okay, next one is Lords of Dogtown. I also have a slipcover for this one on Blu-ray. And this is based on a true story of some skateboarding teenagers from California. So Tony Alva, Stacy Peralta, and Jay Adams. And it's kind of how they became the famous skateboarders that they are. And Heath Ledger plays kind of he's this man that sees the talent in these guys and kind of gets them started. And Heath Ledger plays a completely different role in this movie. Like, you can recognize him, but he has some different teeth in, and it just shows how he can completely just change. Like, I thought he did such a good job in this movie, and this was a fun watch. It was really cool. Definitely a different type of a movie, but it's all about skateboarding and how kind of, you know, that love of skateboarding and came about. So this was a fun true story movie to watch. Okay, next one is Casanova. And Heath Ledger plays Casanova in this movie. I really liked it. It's kind of got a good little love story going on, and it's one of those where he's always pretending to be someone else. He eventually gets caught in all of his little lies. But it's got Sienna Miller. But I liked this one. I have it on Blu-ray. Okay, the next one I was able to pick up in this 4-movie pack. I haven't seen any of the other movies, but the one that he's in is called Two Hands, and this was a movie that was released in Australia and made in Australia, and it had Rose Byrne in it. This movie is what somebody in the United States saw him in this, and then they wanted him for the role, or to possibly be in 10 Things I Hate About You. I really enjoyed this movie. I'd never heard of it before. It's one of his first movies he's ever been in. I believe it came out the same year that 10 Things I Hate About You came out, both in 1999. He kind of gets himself mixed up in a little bit of trouble. He's a boxer, gets mixed up, and needs to he loses a lot of money from someone you don't want to lose money. And so he ends up going and figuring out a way to get that money back by breaking some laws, and it just kind of shows what's going to happen. Like, is he going to survive? Is he, you know? But I really liked it and never heard of it before until I did this video, and I'm super glad that I own it now. So that's Two Hands. Okay, next one is Monsters Ball. Now, Heath Ledger does not have a very large role in this. He plays Billy Bob Thornton's son, and Heath Ledger's not in this movie for very long. When he is in the movie, again, I think he does an amazing job, and you see this their relationship and how toxic it is, how, you know, not nice of a father he is. But once, you know, this horrible incident takes place, you see Billy Bob Thornton change and what kind of a person he ends up turning into, and then meeting Halle Berry. I really enjoyed the rest of the movie. The beginning of the movie is kind of hard to watch. I really like it, and of course it's won, I think, yeah, Halle Berry got Best Actress, so it's a good one. So I own that one on Blu-ray. Okay, my next one is Brokeback Mountain. I remember watching this when it first came out, and, you know, then I was used to seeing him play certain roles, and then he decides to play this cowboy who has a relationship with another man, and at that time a movie like this was just unheard of. So again, this was another example of how Heath Ledger just, you know, went above and beyond and was okay taking those risks. Watching this again, I think watching it because when I first saw it, I was a lot younger, and now watching it as more of an adult, and I truly do see that love story more so than I did back then. And they just do an amazing job of showing what it would be like to love someone, but it's not accepted, and how hard it would be to go through something like that. So this is a good one. So Brokeback Mountain, and I do have it on DVD. Next one, which probably might be a lot of your guys's maybe favorite one of his, because he's phenomenal in it, and that's The Dark Knight, when he plays the Joker. And oh my gosh, he's an amazing Joker. I mean, if you've seen this, you see how amazing he did at transforming himself into this character. It's just crazy. He's a whole other person. Definitely never seen him play any other role like this, and to follow Jack Nicholson and do such a good job. I mean, he was awesome. So I absolutely thought he was great. I do like the movie. I'm still kind of a bigger fan of the old Batmans, with the one with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. But I definitely enjoy this one, and I love seeing this take that Heath Ledger had on the Joker. So I actually have multiple copies of this one because I kind of liked all the different artwork. So I have this Blu-ray, and then I also have the Best Buy Steelbook. And so on the back you see Heath Ledger there. And then you do get some inside artwork with Batman. And then I was able to get this, which is a limited edition digibook that was released only in France, as far as I know. And so it comes with this clear slipcover. And I love that front picture of him. Yeah, and so on the inside, there is a digibook. It doesn't have as many pictures as I'd hoped there would be, but I just kind of wanted to have the ones that were available. Okay, so that's The Dark Knight. Next one, The Patriot, with Mel Gibson, and Heath Ledger plays Mel Gibson's son. This is an amazing war movie. It is long. It's like 3 hours. I saw it when it came out, and then my husband and I rewatched it. It's definitely one, in my opinion, that's just, it's not a huge rewatchable one, but if you wait that many years, I didn't remember all the things that happened. So to rewatch it with that much time in between was good. But I absolutely love Mel Gibson. I love, you know, Heath Ledger does a great job as his son and playing this role, and again, he plays that heroic role. It's a really good one. If you haven't seen The Patriot, I highly recommend it. And then the next one I actually enjoyed a little bit more than The Patriot, and that is The Four Feathers. And this one also has Kate Hudson in it. But this is another war movie, and I just love Heath Ledger's role in this one. British soldier, and they're gonna be sent out to go to war, and he decides to back out, and everyone calls him a coward, and they give him like you do not want to get feathers, and he gets 4 feathers from his friends, which is like the little white feathers are pretty much the worst thing you can get. And then he, after kind of reflecting on it all, feels horrible and ends up finding a way to go to the war to try to help his friends that had given him those feathers. 3 of them are in the battles, and he wants to help them and do something so that he can prove to himself and to them that he's not a coward anymore. And it shows how he gets there, and he ends up kind of having to go undercover. And I really liked it, and I feel like I didn't hear a lot about this one. But for me, I liked it a little bit more than The Patriot, and I thought Heath Ledger did amazing in it. It was just fun to see how his character progressed throughout the whole entire movie. So I really liked that one, and I have that one on DVD. Okay, the next one, so we're getting into my top 3. So I guess I should say my top 5 started with Patriot, and then number 4 is Four Feathers. Oh, that was a coincidence. Okay, so my third favorite Heath Ledger movie is called Candy. This is another one that was released in Australia, and he made this one in 2006. This, in my opinion, this is just an amazing movie. He played him and his girlfriend. I had never seen her in any movie before. Abby Cornish, and then Jeffrey Rush is also in this, but they are drug addicts. They are addicted to heroin, and it shows just what their life is like as heroin addicts and the things they will do for heroin, and how it interferes with their relationship, how it interferes with their families, and they have some really rough things they go through. Like, this one brought tears to my eyes, and I'm not a person who typically cries in movies, but there was a scene that definitely brought tears to my eyes. This movie's phenomenal, and Heath Ledger was absolutely amazing in it. I'd never heard of it before until I decided to do this video. It's in my top 3, and it was kind of hard to find. I was able to get it off eBay. Again, you have to make sure it's region free. But I highly recommend this if you haven't seen it, if you've never even heard of it, and if you're a Heath Ledger fan, you need to watch Candy. And once you've seen it, this scene right here, it's one of those like pivotal moments in the movie. This little scene here that they put on the front cover. Okay, my top 2. So my second favorite Heath Ledger movie is A Knight's Tale, and I do own it on Blu-ray, and I also have it on DVD. I've always loved this cover on DVD, and then I recently picked it up on Blu-ray. And this is the same actress that was in The Order that I mentioned earlier. I've seen this movie so many times. I rewatched it with my husband. He enjoys this too. It's actually a lot funnier than you would think it is, and it's just, I love that they throw in like the classic rock type music for this era that would absolutely not be there at the time, but it makes it such a fun movie. And there's like a dance scene, And it has a good message. I just love it. It's like a really good feel-good movie that keeps you entertained the whole time, makes you laugh, and just makes you happy when it's all over. I just love this movie so much. So that is A Knight's Tale, and it is my second favorite Heath Ledger movie. Okay, and then my number one all-time favorite Heath Ledger movie, which you guys probably already know by now, is 10 Things I Hate About You, and I'm lucky enough to have it in a slipcover, which the slipcover is kind of hard to find. This is probably in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, so of course it's going to be my favorite Heath Ledger movie. I watched this in the movie theaters when I want to say I was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And so for me, it's like my high school movie. You know, I think every generation probably has a movie that they saw in high school that was kind of relatable. And so that was this for me, and this is the movie I discovered him in. And this was the movie that started it all for me to become like such a huge Heath Ledger fan. And I loved Julia Stiles in it. I had never seen her before until this movie. I love their relationship. And I just love all the different relationships throughout the whole movie, and all the, you know, the different cliques and groups that you see in high school. And I hadn't seen it in a really long time, so watching it again for this video, I was kind of curious how I would feel. And it just brought back so many memories, like so many fun memories, I've seen this so many times, and it's crazy, like I can recite so many of the lines from this movie. And the music, I've always loved the soundtrack to this movie, which brings me to, I do have the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack. I'm curious if anybody else out there has the soundtrack. I listen to this all the time, like all the time. I always loved the music. I loved the movie. And so this had to be my favorite. Like, I just love it so much. This is the 10th anniversary edition of the movie with that slipcover. Okay, then to show a couple more that I have, I do own a TV series that he was in, and that is called Roar. And he plays kind of a prince who's, in the very first episode, his family just completely gets killed off by their enemies. And so Heath Ledger, he plays Connor, yeah. His character, who's a prince, has to end up taking on this role of trying to kind of defeat the enemies, and he's trying to band a lot of different groups of people together to become allies to fight against kind of one main enemy. And so it kind of just shows that. I haven't watched the whole entire series. I've seen quite a few of the episodes, so this is something I want to continue to watch, but I've really liked it so far. Again, he does a great job in it, and yeah, so that one, this came out in 1997, and so according to IMDb, this was the fourth thing that he was in. So this came out after his other TV series he was in, which was called Sweat. So that's a TV series I own of his, and then the last one I was going to show you guys is I Am Heath Ledger. So I have this on Blu-ray. This is amazing. If you have any interest in learning about him and just hearing people in his lives who knew him the best and talking about what kind of a person he was, what kind of an actor, what kind of an artist he was, I highly recommend this. He loved to film and take pictures, and so in some of the footage it's his own camera of him filming, you know, before there was such a thing as selfies, before there was YouTube, Heath Ledger was already doing things like that. And so it shows some of his footage on his own cameras that he had taken. But I loved this. I definitely am glad I have it in my collection. And so if you're anybody who kind of wants to collect some Heath Ledger stuff, I would highly recommend this. I know there's also a documentary on him on Netflix. I can't remember exactly what that one's called, and his dad's primarily the one that is speaking about Heath Ledger and what type of a person he was. And so that one's also really interesting. I mean, if you didn't know, Heath Ledger was starting to produce music videos. He directed and produced one for Ben Harper. So he was just a fascinating human. Fascinating human. Another part of my kind of Heath Ledger collection is this A Knight's Tale film cell that I purchased off of eBay, and it has the real film cells from the movie with the cover of the DVD picture, and mine is a limited edition film cell 61 of 200. So I really like this. And then something else I have, a signed picture of Heath Ledger, which I was really happy to get. So that's just a couple other things that I have in my Heath Ledger collection. Heath Ledger definitely died too early. He died at the age of 28, but in his short life, and especially his short career of acting, he left us all with some amazing movies to watch. So I'm very thankful for that. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Bye.